We have a great hour planned for you here in the 3 o'clock hour. We have a gentleman in studio by the name of Steve Zaiser. He is a state representative from Fargo, and his name has been in the news recently because he is kind of spearheading, well, not kind of, he is spearheading the proposition of legalizing medical marijuana in the state of North Dakota. He wants to get it on the November ballot so people can vote yay or nay on the use of medical marijuana in North Dakota. Here's the deal. I'm going to welcome in Steve to the program in about 2 seconds. And then if you want to ask him questions, if you want to comment, if you want to beat me up or beat him up on this topic, I would choose me ahead of him, but he can handle himself. He's a state rep. You can give us a call and talk about this. 237-5948, 800-880-5346. Steve Zaiser, welcome to the Mike McFeely Show. How are you?
Thanks, Mike. Doing great. Beautiful day out there.
I wouldn't know because I'm in a studio, but thank you for telling me. I appreciate you rubbing my nose in it.
It's like 72 degrees. Sunny sky.
It's a perfect
breeze.
day.
Perfect.
Excellent. Now, I know that you were in with Jack and Sandy when this news of this first broke, well, a couple weeks ago, I think it was now, maybe even a month or so ago. Probably it seems like it was sooner than that. But you got a few minutes and they did a great job with you. But I wanted to give you more time. I wanted to flesh this out and I want people to be able to ask you questions because whenever the topic of medical marijuana comes up, it becomes this wild-eyed, crazy thing where people are going, oh my God, they're going to be selling dope in schools and everything else. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't think that's what we're talking about here, is it? Explain what you want to see done. Explain where we are in the process and just clarify some things for us.
Your summary was quite good. It is simply not that. What this does is legalize the use of marijuana for medical purposes. Right now, many people are taking very strong narcotics for pain, for cancer, for Alzheimer's. But it's amazing that this plant that's been growing in the ground naturally has been found to be probably more curing than, or as curing as all these nasty drugs, OxyContin and whatnot. But it doesn't have the side effects. And so, I looked around and talked to people, and there are horror stories out there of people that have just the most incredible bad health experiences, and they can't find any way to rid themselves of pain. And this really has been the answer for them.
How widespread is this across the country? Because when this first came up, we talked about it on this show, but there are places like Colorado, California, there's a number of states that have Montana, close by here, have legalized marijuana for medicinal purposes. And so it's nothing new necessarily. It maybe would be to North Dakota or Minnesota, but it's nothing new around the country.
Correct. Right now, there was just one additional state, I believe it was Connecticut, I could be wrong, that approved medical marijuana. Right now, there are 17 states plus the District of Columbia. California was the first state, and when you're the first at anything, you're the trailblazer, and you make a lot of mistakes. This legislation is very, very different than California and Colorado. I'd like to think this really is very, very regulated, very comprehensively, almost overwhelmingly regulated to make sure that this doesn't get into hands of people that simply want to use it for recreational purposes.
Well, and that's the fear, of course, is that because in Colorado, as I understand it, they have kiosks or shops that specifically sell medical marijuana, and there's always stories of people abusing that because they can get a card or some sort of ID to buy pot, and there's this belief that it's going to be reefer madness in North Dakota if this thing happens. How do you stop that from happening? How do you stop the folks who aren't supposed to have marijuana for medical purposes? How do you stop it from getting in their hands?
Well, first of all, I just want to respond to the Colorado and California situation, especially Colorado. Initially, it was a little freer than it should have been, or not freer, but a little less regulated. And the state didn't have time to enforce all the regulations. But after they had got it together and they started enforcing the regulations, they closed down many, many, many of the places They're called dispensaries.
That's true. That's what I was looking for. Yep.
Because they didn't meet the regulation. And we've had the benefit of learning from those states and others so that we have very strict regulations in terms of use. You can grow it, but very limited. You're limited to 12 plants. You have to have it in a locked up room or area where only you have access to it, the key or whatever it is. You simply, to me, there's as much out. This will not add to the amount of marijuana that may be out there now that people are using for recreational purposes.
237-5948, 800-880-5346. Studio at KFGO.com is our email if you have a question or comment for Steve Zaiser. We're talking medical marijuana. I'm going to go right to the phone, Steve, because Cliff in Castleton has a question for you. Cliff, you're on with Steve Zaiser. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. See, if there's a drug in marijuana that alleviates pain or does this or does that, why doesn't a drug company extract that chemical or whatever from the marijuana and put it in a pill, and then you simply take a pill instead of smoke the marijuana? I mean, we don't eat an aspirin tree to take aspirin or smoke aspirin.
I don't know. Actually, this would hurt Big Pharma in many ways. Nationally, the opposition to medical marijuana has really, the most amount of money that's been spent has come from Big Pharma. And they are pushing very hard against this because it's almost like a master drug. And you're right, you can put the active ingredients, which are THC, and there's there's another chemical in there that actually helps with the pain control. But that is the active ingredient, and it can be put into a soda, can be put into a little candy bar. It's where the states that have it, you can get it in a variety of ways. And it's been even put in pill form.
So that is available. And Cliff's question was, why don't they make it that way? It is available that way.
And then sell it legally, right?
Well, it's right now is simply the whole idea of cannabis is not being able to legally sold. It cannot be legally sold. Somehow we've demonized this drug over a period of years. Ironically, tobacco from cigarettes has killed many people, as we all know, and alcohol has killed people and destroyed lives. But both of those are legal and advertised on radio, TV, every place we look. But marijuana has never killed a person. No one is ever addicted to it. Somebody might be psychologically addicted for a bit, but it has never been a problem. But it's just like some crazy things that develop over time. And in our country, we have demonized marijuana.
It's a stigma. There's no doubt there's a stigma attached to marijuana.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it. And you're exactly right. If you talk about booze, you talk about cigarettes, the costs to society and to the healthcare cost with those two products, both legal, have been astronomical in this country, and I don't deny that. I use alcohol. I might have had a couple of beers after playing golf last night. I don't deny that. But you're right, marijuana, and I don't want to come across as somebody I'm saying, hey, it's selling every street corner, let's give it to the kids. I'm not saying that at all. But I think in this case, if you can regulate it tightly enough, if you can regulate it to the point where only people, and you can never make sure only people who are supposed to get it, because only with prescription drugs, people abuse that as well. But if you regulate it to the point, if you have the government take care of it, if you have the laws in place, to me, I look at this and say, I don't see what's wrong with this. I don't see why we couldn't use marijuana to help somebody with a crippling pain or Alzheimer's or glaucoma or whatever, use this product legally to give themselves some relief from the pain.
Again, a couple things just to respond. There's 18 or 19 pages of regulations to make sure that this is tight. But just yesterday, a study came out that showed medical marijuana does not exacerbate or increase the likelihood of youth using marijuana for recreational purposes. They're using it now, and it does not increase it. And I should say that this marijuana that would be used in other states, this is regulated, it's tested. So somebody doesn't lace it with crazy things like you might get on the street. So you know that you're getting a quality product. Even drugs that we buy from a drugstore, in talking to my pain doctor, he says some of them are dirty. The term for dirty is laced with all kinds of
Yep,
ugly stuff.
Fargo Representative Steve Zaiser in studio with us. He's